So I'm already thinking about coming back to Toronto in the summer, and if the Leafs actually do a cup run, that will definitely be happening. I will be there. I don't care how much it costs. If the Leafs are anywhere near a cup, I will be there. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm Victoria and I talk about all things hockey related from across the pond in Scotland. And for today's video, we are talking about why the Leafs could actually get near a cup / win the cup this year. And before you go, the Leafs, they might do exactly the same as they have done for the last however many years, but these are just my thoughts on why the Leafs can do it this year. Whether they will or not, I can't change, but I can cheer them on and I can discuss the reasons why I think they are a good enough team this season. So the first thing I think, and one of the most important things that mean the Leafs could go on a cup run, is the fact that their goaltending has improved significantly. Now last year it was definitely the weakness in the team. We know that there was problems with Mrazek, he didn't work out well for us. And so Dubas's gamble on Matt Murray as a veteran this year and Ilya Samsonov as a backup was definitely a risky one, but so far it's one that seems to be paying off. An early injury in the season was a concern surrounding Murray, which I was concerned about too, because him staying healthy is definitely the biggest hurdle when it comes to him. But he's putting up a .917 save percentage right now in the 18 games that he's played, and it seems to be a real redemption time for Matt Murray. It seems to be back to the way that he was playing before when he won a cup in Pittsburgh, and he was definitely a big part of that cup win. And there was a possibility he could do the same in Toronto, and so far it's going pretty good. As long as he stays healthy, it's good. He makes really good saves, and as I said, when he's fit to play, he is a very effective goaltender. Meanwhile, Samsonov remains one of the most solid backup goalie options available in the league right now. He has a .914 save percentage and he's just a really solid guy to have as a backup, especially for a team who have suffered a lot of goalie problems in recent years, from Anderson all the way through to Mrazek. There's always been some sort of goaltending weakness in the team, and this year they seem to be managing so far, which is very refreshing, and it could be a turning point. Perhaps that was an obstacle that was in the way in previous years, but this year they seem to have overcome it. Their goaltending is a lot stronger and this could help take them on a cup run. The second reason the Leafs could get past the first round at least this year is, we're going to talk about the core, okay? And it's the core, aka Mitch Marner, William Nylander, John Tavares and Austin Matthews, are a group who are one of the most talked about in the NHL. So it's a common criticism of the Leafs franchise that these four, because of their high salaries, they take up so much of the cap and sometimes they don't deliver, that this is often a weaker part of the team, despite them being very good players. However, this year they seem to have really excelled themselves. Austin is the only one who has sort of not done as well this year as he did last year, but he was so successful last year that I think it's a high bar to compare it to. But Mitch Marner went on that historic game point run streak recently. Nylander is on pace for 40 goals for the first time in his career, and Tavares has greatly improved his skating and also I think his speed over the summer, and you can see the difference. They've been very effective this year. And although Austin has definitely been criticised because he's not hitting the same amount of goals as last year, which again is a very high target to set, he still has 48 points in 42 games played. And I think you did notice the difference when he was out for a couple of games last week with some nagging injury. You did notice the difference. There was a part of the team missing, and that was definitely Austin. So just because he's not putting up the same goals as last year doesn't mean that he's not needed on the ice. Plus he then came back, scored against Boston, and he still has time to pick up the pace. And because he is Austin Matthews, this likely will happen. So the core is arguably stronger than it has actually ever been before, meaning that this could really help take the Leafs a lot further than previous years. Rather than talking about individual players anymore, we're just going to discuss the fact that the Leafs overall, to me anyway, are a better team this year. So watching the Boston game the other day, Boston are incredible this season. They are top of the table, they are really holding their own up there. They are such an impressive, well put together team. And the Leafs did really hold their own against them. It was an amazing game, an absolutely perfect hockey night in Canada, Saturday night game, amazing. Love a Boston and Leafs matchup, it's always really good, and I would love to see that in the playoffs. I know, 2013, I understand, but such an entertaining matchup. Wayne Simmons was just going off. I love that guy. But my point is, they really did hold their own against a team that is so good this year. So there's no denying that they also then must be really good. Also, total off tangent, but how good are Seattle this year? Like, where did that come from? They're winning left, right and centre. Who isn't losing to Seattle right now? But anyway, we're not talking about Seattle right now, we're talking about the Leafs. So even though they lost against Boston, they didn't get hammered 4-0 or 4-1 or something. They really held their own right until the end, and it was a pretty even matchup of a game, meaning that clearly they are overall better, I think. Although the Leafs do have a habit of playing up to good teams and down to teams that aren't quite so strong, which is a very odd thing that they seem to do. But I digress. Previously, the Leafs were lacking some depth, which meant they were heavily reliant on the core and really needed them to be performing at top level at all times, but they have definitely improved their depth this season, especially defensively, which was something they have been lacking before. So Giordano and Ben add a nice veteran element to the group. They added Timmins in recently, and I know that Morgan Rielly has been very criticised this season, but he is still the lead defenseman in points for the franchise right now. He has 19 points, which is top. And I think people are just being a little bit harsh. He's been out, he's been injured. I think he's not playing quite to his normal standard, but that's probably because there's still something underlying that makes him not feel right. And I think people are being rather harsh on Morgan Rielly. I love Morgan Rielly, and I like when he's playing. I think he's great. Part of the team. So the added depth is something that the Leafs definitely need in the postseason so they're not relying on the same small group of players to perform. However, this could be added to further by my next point, which is the fact that there still may be potential trades and additions to come. So despite the Leafs being a much better team this year, there are still improvements that could be made. I know people were complaining about the third line. Maybe they'll want to add another defenseman in. Typically, Dubas trades prospects and picks to get some current good players, so that might be what he does again. I think, what is it, 2 months until the trade deadline, so let's see what happens. I really do think he'll add another defenseman or something into their already improving mix, so I can do a separate video if you want discussing trade rumours, because there's certainly there's ideas flying around about potential trades that the Leafs might be interested in, so I can do a separate video on those if anyone is interested. But there is still scope to improve on a team which is already amazing this year. But I'm going to move on to my final point, and it's just that they need to get over the mental block, and this might be the year that they do it. I don't know, do it for Salming. If nothing else, do it for Salming. So they need to just get over this sort of mental block that they've got of the first round. The first round just seems to terrify them and they can never get past it. But if they got past there, I really think they could go on a good cup run. I'm not saying that the Leafs will win the cup. I'm not saying that. I would love that to be true. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, my team's the best, of course I'm going to win the cup. Like, no, I am realistic, but I would just like to see them progressing past the first round, doing better in the postseason. I think they really need that boost. Unfortunately though, because of the playoff structure and because the Atlantic Division is so good, they're likely to be up against, in the first round, another very good team, as they always are, which makes it harder for sure. But honestly, I'm not even sure that that matters. I don't think it matters really who the Leafs are playing. I do complain about the playoff structure, but it's not really about that. It's definitely, they can do it. They're physically able to do it. They are good enough. But will they get over the mental block that's in the way? I don't know, but as I said, they should do it for Salming, if nothing else. So the Leafs are definitely a team with improved goaltending, better depth, and the potential to still improve on the team, combined with the fact that half of their issue is actually a mental battle. The Leafs can definitely go on a cup run this year. They're definitely contenders, I think. They are good enough, but we all know the story, right? Like we know they're the most cursed team in the NHL and whatever else, but they're definitely good enough to do it. It's just whether they will that's the question. So that is all for today, guys. Comment down below, what do you think? Are the Leafs going to be contenders for the Cup this year, or are they going to choke in the first round once again? Let me know what you think down below. Like this video if you haven't already, and make sure to subscribe, and I'll be back with more hockey chats from across the pond soon. Bye guys.